Afternoon, K3. It's almost 6 o'clock on Thursday. Tomorrow we do not have school. We are celebrating Cesar Chavez Day, and we will not be doing any remote learning opportunities. You feel free, if you want to work on our weekly schedule that we already had planned out. I can still look at your, I'll be looking at your class dojo activities, so you can still complete those. If you want to go back and rewatch an old YouTube, feel free to do that. Before tomorrow, though, I did want to read you a story about Cesar Chavez and why we're taking the day tomorrow off. Not only of Cesar Chavez, but also of Dolores Huerta, his partner. So this book is called Side by Side, and it's also in Spanish. I'm just going to read it to you in English today. The Story of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez by Monica Brown, illustrated by Joe Cepeda. Side by side. And in Spanish, that would be lado a lado. It's like some farmland, maybe up around where the 5 freeway is. That's what that reminds me of. The farmland near the 5 freeway. In New Mexico, there lived a little girl named Dolores who talked so fast her grandfather once said, "Dolores, you must have 7 tongues." Many miles away, in Arizona, there lived a little boy named Cesar who was a very good listener. Cesar listened to his mother cry when the family lost its home and had to become migrant farm workers. When Dolores was a girl, she moved to California with her mother and brothers. She joined the Girl Scouts and worked to raise money for soldiers fighting in World War II. Cesar's family moved to California to follow the crops and work in the fields. Although he had to drop out of school to work, Cesar always had a book under his arm. Oh, wait a second. So Cesar had to work instead of going to school, even as a kid? That doesn't sound fair. And look, these are the farm workers. They're picking all the fruits and vegetables that we would eat. From her mother, Dolores learned to think of others. When poor farm worker families had no place to sleep, Dolores' mother let them stay at her hotel for free. So these are the farm workers, and because they travel around from farm to farm, they don't have a home that they stay in all the time. They go back to different homes. Life for Cesar's family was difficult. All day they bent over in the hot sun picking lettuce, strawberries, and grapes. There was never enough water to drink out in the fields. Man, that is some hard work in the hot sun all day. And imagine being a kid and having to do that. Dolores grew up and became a teacher. She saw the farm worker children come to school cold and barefoot, too hungry to learn as well as they could. Right, yeah, look, some of her students don't even have shoes, they're so poor. When Cesar grew up, he and his friends were hurt by dangerous tools and had mean bosses who sprayed the plants with poisons that made the farm workers sick. So the bosses would spray the crops to keep the bugs off the crops, but they do it while the farm workers were working there. So they were poisoning their own workers while they poisoned the bugs. Then something special happened. Dolores and Cesar met. Dolores saw that Cesar had great faith. His dreams would bring hope to thousands of farm workers. Cesar saw that Dolores had great courage. She would stand up and fight for what was right. Side by side, Dolores and Cesar began their journey. So there they are meeting. Dolores and Cesar drove from town to town, standing on the back of a flatbed truck and inviting farm workers to join La Causa, the cause for justice. Together, they demanded better living and working conditions for the farm workers. So they're saying, you know what? You guys deserve better conditions. You shouldn't be poisoned. You should have water out there when you're working. Cesar and Dolores asked people to stop buying grapes from California because the poisons the growers used were making the workers sick. People listened and the grapes rotted on the vines. Oh, that's like the boycott, like the Montgomery bus boycotts that we learned about. If people don't buy the grapes, then the people that own the grape farms won't be able to make any money and they'll have to change their way. Cesar led men, women, and children on a 340-mile march to demand that the workers get paid enough to live on. They arrived in Sacramento, California on April 10th, Dolores' birthday. Dolores gave an amazing speech and the people were heard. The growers signed a contract with the workers, giving them better pay for their hard work. It was time for the farm workers to share in the harvest. And here, they're having a march just like we did. Just like lots of people that are fighting for rights have done. Though they each had a large family, little food, and no money when Dolores and Cesar sat down at Cesar's kitchen table, they always looked for ways to make the world a better place. If we don't help the farm workers, Cesar asked Dolores, who will? When the growers and the politicians wouldn't listen, Cesar stopped eating for 36 days so the others would understand how important it was to protect the workers. When their bosses bullied them, the workers used to say, we can't do it, we can't win. But with the help of Dolores, they began to chant, sí se puede, yes we can. For 30 years, Dolores and Cesar worked and listened and talked and marched side by side. Dolores and Cesar worked to help the families stay together. They fought to pass the Immigration Act of 1986, and it helped more than 1 million immigrants become United States citizens. Dolores and Cesar had many victories because they knew that together, all things were possible. In 1993, Cesar passed away, and Dolores and the farm workers marched to honor him. There's Cesar's coffin, so they're all marching. Dolores still works and marches for justice for the poor, and she's not alone. The spirit of Cesar Chavez is with her, by her side. There's a picture of Cesar. And here is what Dolores and Cesar look like in real life, side by side. K3, I hope you enjoyed that story, and now you know a little bit of why we're honoring Cesar Chavez tomorrow, and we're having a day off school. After that, we're going to have spring break. I'll be keeping in touch with you, so check your class dojo every once in a while, but I want everybody to stay safe, have a great spring break, and I will see you soon, all right? Bye, guys.